Hello, I'm Rashi Goel and I'm pursuing BLLB from University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun. And currently, I am a legal intern at LEXIS and Company for the month of June. So in today's video, I'll be discussing about the ignorance of law in India. The notion of legal literacy is based on the principle that every individual must be aware of their rights and obligations. The maxim ignorantia juris non exequisit, or we can say ignorance of law is no excuse, implies that the court presumes that every party is aware of the law and hence cannot claim ignorance of the law as a defense to escape the liability. This Latin maxim and its wide legal spillovers belong to the common law system. It was developed by the imperialist Western nations and has continued in India's legal system as a byproduct of its history as a British colony. The COVID-19 pandemic has unveiled the ugly repercussions of legal literacy in India. Grave human rights violations that transpired during the pandemic could have been averted had India been more legally aware. For instance, domestic violence complaints filed during the lockdown were 10 years high during 2020. This figure is especially alarming since 86% of women who suffer such violence in India don't seek any help. The misuse of police power and increase in police brutality during the lockdown is another worrying trend. The vulnerable, poor, and illiterate were often arbitrarily arrested for the petty issues. In addition, the emergence of virtual courts has hampered the access to the justice for the technologically handicapped people. Further, there is a surge in violation of labor laws and occurrence of bioethic issues. So it is believed that the majority of these issues of rights deprivation can be attributed or attached to the lack of legal literacy in India. Now let's talk about the legal literacy in India. Ignorance of law is so widespread that often the offender come to know of the law prohibiting something after have been committed the crime, without the knowledge of the legal implications of such action. People living in society are to a certain extent the part of a social contract wherein they have surrendered some rights and agreed to certain obligations. In India, people simply don't know their rights and obligations, ensuring for the social contract. Also, around 35% of India's population has no formal education. Being unaware of the enforceability of human rights, people, especially women and children, do not report such crimes and the perpetrators go unpunished. Though we do not have any index or any scale that can determine the status of legal awareness, we can still say that India has a long way to go before it reaches the preconditions which are necessary to the meaningful impose the rule of ignorance of law is no excuse. Now, let's discuss the reason behind legal illiteracy. The preconceived notion that law is innately complex and can only be understood by the people belonging to legal fraternity is a major impediment to the legal literacy. It is only reinforced by judicial pronouncements that are unnecessarily lengthy. The language is at times so complex that even judges and advocates find it difficult to comprehend. It's high time that the judiciary stresses the need to write judgments that are through yet brief, lucid, and concise, so one can read and comprehend them without any difficulty. Another reason is that legislature's lack of effort to make the language of laws more accessible to people. A majority of the effort in direction of legal literacy has come from the NGOs and civil society working in the field of legal aid. NGOs like CLAP India and MARG organize legal awareness camps for the vulnerable social groups and impart awareness on their rights and protection given under Constitution of India. Article 39A of the Constitution imposes upon the government the duty to ensure free legal aid to the poor as a part of directive principle of the state policy. Article 14 and 22, Clause 1 especially promotes the social justice through the rule of law. The same idea has been stressed through various legal pronouncements of different courts. The state is thus obliged to equip the citizens with the minimum degree of legal awareness to actively protect fundamental rights and other rights. In 1980, under the guidance of Justice P.N. Bhagwati, the Committee for Implementing Legal Aid Schemes were constituted. Consequently, in 1995, the National Legal Service Authority was established. The authority has a hierarchical structure constituted at national, state, and district levels. One of the major functions of these legal services authorizes is the organizing legal literacy and legal awareness program in collaborations with NGOs. Lastly, the judiciary must also recognize the responsibility to make justice more accessible to every person irrespective of their economic and social situation. Courts must also avoid using complicated language in judicial pronouncement for the sake of clarity to the layman. Mass legal education will make policy implementation a far easier process in our country. Until then, ignorance of law is no excuse will remain synonymous with social injustice. Thank you everyone for watching my video. I hope you like it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to let me know your feedback in the comment section. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy.